Hello everybody, it is Starrapter here, and I'm super excited to talk about the Xbox Games Showcase. We had a bunch of first-party games revealed for the first time for the upcoming Xbox Series X. I couldn't break down all this information by myself. I had to gather an awesome host of panelists. I am joined by, first off, JT. How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
All right. We're also joined by the host of Hype Function and Maniacal Melodies. We have Jeff. How's it going?
It's going well, Chris. Thank you for having me on. I'm quite passionate about the video game industry, so I am incredibly excited to talk Xbox.
Oh, yes. So I just want to jump right in. The game we were looking forward to most, I think, for most people is Halo Infinite. This is the sixth game in the main Halo franchise, and they showed off a cinematic trailer and gameplay. So that was a lot of things we haven't seen before. So just jumping into the CG trailer, what do you think about that, Jeff?
Oh man, I loved it that they almost like continued the trailer we saw at E3 last year and just continued that story trailer and just kept it going. We actually saw where Master Chief was going, and I think it transitioned. I may actually be talking about it transitioned very well to the gameplay that we saw. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I thought the trailer was pretty unique in that it showed the Mjolnir armor being forged at this place that I do not know. I'm very low on my knowledge of the Halo, like the intrinsic lore and all that. I've played all the games, but I haven't read all the books, so maybe that was featured in a book or something. But that's the first time I've seen that place, and I thought it was cool. Like, it almost seems like, since this game is really being a spiritual reboot, as they're calling it, it's nice to see, like, the armor is really, like, the icon of Halo and the icon of Xbox as a whole. So for them to kick off this entire event where we know so much is hinged upon the success of Halo, it was cool to see, like, okay, we're getting that iconic, forged, brand new armor for the Master Chief. What'd you think about that, JT?
It looked pretty good. It looked pretty good. It Halo 2, Halo 3 vibes. Halo 3 vibes. The appearance of the armor. The 117 brand. The 117 brand on the chest is I haven't seen them do that before. I mean, I'm not too familiar with 4 or 5. It fell off the wagon after Reach, but it's a cool little detail.
Yeah, definitely. And what's really neat about this game, the sixth one in the franchise, is came out from a couple of different articles after the showcase, is that this game is being created kind of almost like as I mentioned, like as a reboot. So for fans that have maybe not played every game, you're going to have a brand new enemy type. They're called the Banished. They were introduced actually in Halo Wars 2. They are this special sect of characters like containing brutes and your normal Covenant races, but they kind of separated themselves from the Covenant. So it's going to give everybody a brand new look at these characters. We have no connection to them really as far as like the main leader of these. He's some kind of war chief. So that's what I like. But getting into more of the gameplay demo, they gave us, I think it was like 9 minutes or something. It was quite a bit. And before they actually get into the demo, there's more interaction between this unnamed pilot character that supposedly rescues Master Chief, as Jeff said in the previous cinematic we got from last E3, talking about like trying to get out and escape from this Halo ring that they've crashed on. And I thought it was really neat that they are focusing a lot on character and narrative, because you're getting this guy who's a normal person and he's talking to the chief and he's reacting like the same way any of us would react if they just crash landed on this random planet. So what'd you think of that, Jeff?
The gameplay is old fashioned, man. It's like a blast from the past. And although the E3 trailer that we had last year already had that vibe through seeing, the Warthog and whatnot, and just seeing Chief again. But the gameplay was pretty incredible. I'm impressed what 343 showed us, and the gunplay looks very old fashioned, and I think a lot of hardcore fans will appreciate that.
Yeah, so there's definitely some new additions to the gameplay. As we've seen, you got this awesome hook grapple weapon on the wrist of Master Chief, and I like how it was utilized from pulling an enemy kind of to you, to actually like zipping to them, to pulling like some kind of like canister and then firing it back at the enemy. Like that was some really cool dynamic gameplay that we haven't seen, and ways to traverse the environment. And that's the first thing that really stuck out to me is like, I mean, Halo Combat Evolved, like Halo's known to have these bigger kind of sandbox moments in the gameplay where it seems like you can travel a large distance in an open kind of world to a certain degree, and this game definitely takes that and runs with it, because at one moment they actually open up a map. We never had a map in Halo, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure that's brand new, and it just shows you like, oh wow, you can actually go to this place or you can go to that place. And I was reading a couple other articles with some of the lead developers of Halo Infinite, and it did confirm like, yeah, you can actually go back to places where you start the game off later in the game. Like if you're going after collectibles, they didn't confirm if there's skulls in this game or not, which is a big thing for a lot of fans, but you can go back to places almost like I wouldn't call it a Metroidvania game, but if you guys have played Jedi Fallen Order, like you can like go back to all these other planets and stuff like that. That's the kind of vibe I get. The kind of vibe I get if you guys have played Gears 5. There are moments where there's like a semi-open world points where you can go on like with a skier thing and go to like different objectives and stuff. I have a feeling it's going to be more like that, not maybe entirely open world, but lots more areas to explore. So that's what made me really happy, because what I want from Halo Infinite is something familiar, but something that adds some more new elements. I think the gameplay itself was just picking up like the same old game again, but looking a lot better. And there's lots of new weapons, of course, and you got the banished weaponry, which is behaving a lot differently with like physical slugs and stuff rather than lasers that the Covenant had. So what did you feel about all the gameplay in general with this, JT?
It looks good. It looks good. Like you said, kind of a throwback to the past. Looks like a hybrid somewhere in the middle of Halo 3 and Halo 5. Because it does have some of that, like the sliding action and the movement up to the grappling hook. It doesn't look like there's jump jets. But yeah, I mean, the movement and the gunplay was great. While you were talking about the open world or open level aspect of it, I think there was a map in ODST, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I will say, and I guess it goes back to it being like a spiritual, like a reboot almost of the whole series. It does open a lot like the very first mission of Combat Evolved, with the crash, and then when you do open that TAC map, the way that the objectives are spread out, just right in the middle of this Halo, and you don't know what's going on. It does feel a lot like the first one in that aspect. But one thing that is different from any other Halo we've seen, to my knowledge, is it looks like it may have been a human-occupied or a military-occupied Halo ring. That's something we haven't seen before.
Yes, because they do make mention of the banished guy was talking about like you're the only one left and all this kind of thing. Like he's drawing you out specifically to finish off the humans entirely. So that could be really interesting. Again, the banished were in Halo Wars 2. If you want to learn more about them, you can play that. But it's they keep saying like this game, more than Halo 4 and Halo 5, which apparently, according to an article I had read, had a lot of tie-in books and stuff like that. This game is going to be like the most accessible. So yeah, I want to see a different kind of a forerunner Halo that actually has installations where you're going to go into like UNSC places, like you see like the crashed cruiser and stuff like that. Like that is pretty neat. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with what JT said about how it evokes the original game, and I love the original game. I played the original one, Halo 2, and I think reached some of Master Chief Collection. But yeah, it looks like a pretty awesome game, and I think it's the perfect launch title for Xbox Series X. Like, this is the killer app for the console, and that's really special.
That's the neat thing, right? Is because we haven't had an Xbox game launch or Xbox system launch for the Halo since the original Xbox, like 19 years ago. Like, this is a huge deal. Like, I get it. Like, the Xbox One, I can't even tell you what games it launched with because they were probably just not really consequential. It probably had Forza Horizon or Forza Motorsport or something, but it definitely didn't have a Halo. And Xbox is known for Halo, and if Xbox really wants to stick ahead of its competitors, like you stick it with its best game, like its most popular game. Everybody knows what Halo is, and just the fact, and we'll talk later about this, that it's bundled with Game Pass. It's another win for that. Like, you just get it the day one that it's out, and you're going to be able to play it on PC and Xbox One like the previous generation, and it'll upgrade and on all that. So it's going to be, again, very accessible for anybody, even if you're not ready to make the jump. But the cool thing is they are developing this game specifically like from the ground up for the Series X, but they are going. It's like a computer developer, right? Like, you have different settings based on the different systems you have, and that's how Xbox is like approaching this generation. You're going to be able to max everything out with the Series X, and probably with your custom PC, and then Xbox One and Xbox One X will have different feels. But definitely the game that I wanted to see the most out of this, and there's plenty of other games to talk about from first party especially. So we had 9 out of 15 studios announcing or talking about games to an extent on this stream here. So getting into the next game, I'm not sure if you guys have ever played any of the other games in the series. We have State of Decay 3 from Undead Labs. Have you guys ever played State of Decay?
I have not.
I've dabbled with the first and second one. The second one more so with the cooperative aspect to it, but for me personally, it's just not a series I ever got too much into.
Yeah, so for this game, I played, like you said, I played 1, but I also played 2 a lot. And I played mainly that one by myself, but it was a really neat, it's a survival horror game where you're gonna actually, and it's a lot of it is resource management. It's like the closest thing to Walking Dead, it really is. I believe that, because you're going around, you're having to care for people, you have to get gasoline out of your car, out of the car, scavenge it for your own vehicles. You have to go get ammunition. You have to keep your people happy. It's basically a game that its framework almost seems like it could be a Destiny-like game where you have these systems that you can have multiplayer almost, but they never really integrated it to be like a live service game. You could have co-op friends jump in at any moment. It's really good for that. But I think I heard from somewhere their ultimate like goal for State of Decay was to be more of like that very expansive live service game where you're walking around, you see another survivor, you can fight them or you can survive together. So I think what's going to happen now is hopefully their vision will be fulfilled. Hopefully this will be the game that they've been working towards for years, and they'll be able to really harness that kind of Sea of Thieves level of immersion where you're actually with other people talking and having a blast trying to survive. So
it's interesting, Chris. Feel like we just had State of Decay 2 not too long ago.
Yeah, it's only been a couple years.
Yeah,
I know they've had a couple big updates for the game because I played it when it first launched on Game Pass, and the thing that people know about State of Decay is that, it can be a very buggy game. Like, when the game first came out for the sequel, like, you're driving along, and there'll be zombies that apparently just spawn out of the sky, like, right in front of you into the ground. It's like, what? So they've been cleaning up all that, and from what I talked to my friend, he was saying that the game is a really good place since the last update, So the next game we have, and these are all first-party games, mind you, is Forza Motorsport. This is from Turn 10 Studios. This is a tried and true game for Xbox. They almost have one every year, but it looks like this year it's going to be the first one without one. Usually they alternate. Usually they have Forza Horizon, and then they have a Forza Motorsport. They're just great games to showcase off the fidelity of the systems that are coming out. Like, you always want to have a racing game because you can really see the difference with the weather effects and the reflections and everything like that is what makes it be something they want to showcase. So apparently they're holding this one off a little bit longer. The interesting thing I found out is that this one is not going to be numbered. They're actually building this from the ground up for Series X, and it's not going to be numbered, which leads me to believe maybe it could be another live service game. And I've been thinking about, like, why doesn't Forza ever become like a live service game? Like, it seems like it's kind of made for that. Like, they can just release new cars constantly and just have people like buy for aesthetic purchases and stuff like that to kind of support the game that way. Are you guys fans of any of the Forza games by any chance?
I played some Forza, but I think it's very bold for them to treat it like a reboot. And it's sort of like Halo, where it's just like, oh, it's like a new era for these tried and true franchises. And so, like, it looks pretty cool. I'm quite hyped for it.
Yeah, what about you, JT? Have you ever played any of the Forza games?
I have experience with a couple of them. Obviously, Forza Horizon 4, I've played plenty of, it being available on Game Pass. And I think probably Forza Motorsports 1 and 2 when they used to come free like with your console purchase. Those are probably the only ones I played.
Okay, yeah, yeah, they are the tried and true games to be packaged with the systems. They're those games that you just want to show your friends, like, hey, I got this new system, check out Halo or check out Forza. But this leads me to believe also, like, it puts more of a spotlight again on Halo. When you get your Xbox Series X on launch day, it's going to be like, you got to get Halo. I mean, it just you need that game because it's the first party game that everybody's looking for. There's no other first party games that are going to be around that their focus is solely on that. But moving to a developer that I love, especially this generation for their boldness and what they've done, is Rare. And they are not working on just Sea of Thieves right now. They are actually developing another game from the ground up called Avowed. Another team at Rare is making this game. We first heard about it last E3, I think, and now we see a little bit more of it. It's not exactly gameplay, but it does give us a little bit more of what we can expect as, like, the playing characters. So what I gathered from this was, wow, this is a really wonderful world. Like, it inspires wonder for me to just see all these really cool creatures. Like, none of these creatures are on Earth. Like, they are completely developed to be they seem like they could be an alternate universe of Earth or something like that. But, like, you also have these characters. It's very much a game that is, like, in nature. Like, it seems like you are dealing with nature. I'm not sure what the mission idea, the mission statement of the game is, but I find it could be just like one of those really relaxing games that you could just chill out to and just explore. What do you guys think about this one?
Well, my very first thought was wow, this looks almost exactly like Breath of the Wild. I mean, I didn't hear about it last year. I don't really follow E3 too much. I just look for the game trailers that I want to see after the fact.
Yeah, and I don't remember this game being announced last year. I thought this was a brand new announcement.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, they last year they showed all the animals. They didn't show, like, any human characters, or they're probably not human, but any of the humanoid characters they didn't show. So I was like, I don't know if you're playing an animal or what, but it definitely looks like you're playing, like, a shepherd or some kind of creature. They're, like, bringing back a deer-like creature to life or something. So they have a lot of power apparently.
Yeah, but it does look to be like it. It does look like it may be a very chilled out, relaxing experience to play through.
Yeah, so moving on for first party, we have literally 10 first party games to talk about. That just saying that excites me, because looking at the last couple years, we were lucky if we had 3 exclusive first party games in a single year. Mind you, like, Halo is the only one, not the only one, but there's very few that are coming out this year. But anyway, we're going to get into more of these adventure games that were revealed. There's a new game called As Dusk Falls. So I believe this game is set in it's set in the southwest of America. You're going to be jumping between time periods, I believe. Do you guys like a lot of the Telltale games where you're kind of more cinematic and dealing with narration and stuff like that?
Yeah, I like some of them. Yeah.
I will die on my hill of I do not enjoy Telltale games.
What was the last Telltale game you played?
The last Telltale game I played was trying to start The Wolf Among Us.
Ooh.
Because that was the most interesting story of all of the Telltale games for me, and I still couldn't play through it just because I don't enjoy the gameplay. And
Okay.
before that was like the original Walking Dead Telltale. And even that, I only made it through a couple episodes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if put it this way, I mean, I'm not slighting anybody that's played the games, but like if you can't play through The Walking Dead and think that's like a really good game, then yeah, I don't know what to tell you, because that to me is, and most people will agree, that's like one of the best Telltale games out. So yeah, it's just simply not your cup of tea, and that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I personally like that kind of gameplay because I play a wide variety of games myself. So if I can like switch up the genre and go from playing like a heavy like first person shooter, which is like really intense, and I finish that and I go to like a Telltale game where I could be sitting, eating food and just chilling out after a long day and just not like being super engaged playing the game, but being able to experience it more as a narrative is a nice little treat. There's another game that was also announced that seems like in a similar vein. This is Tell Me Why from Don't Nod Studios. This is a game, I believe, from the developers that made Life is Strange, which was like another type of Telltale game. I actually haven't played Life is Strange. I believe a lot of it is on Game Pass, or at least Season 1 or something like that. So, yeah, it seems like it's definitely a game that is a lot of fans like. I still have yet to play it, so.
This is one of the ones I said I was going to give a hard time.
Okay, let's hear it.
Now, I don't know. No, I'm not entirely sure if it was my internet. I mean, my internet straight out of my router is 380 megabytes per second, and hardwired to my Google Mesh node, it's 200 megabytes per second. The voices were so out of sync with the characters in that trailer for me, and not only that, their voices do not match their characters at all. I don't think they picked good voices for the characters. That's nothing against the voice actors. Voice actors have an incredibly difficult job, but I think they could have done a better job picking who they wanted their cast, because I don't think the voices match what the characters look like.
Yeah, first off with the technical stuff, I did have a trouble with the stream. I was watching the stream through the Game Awards, and even through the Master Chief in that first cinematic, it was stuttering. So I was like, okay, let me pause, refresh. That didn't work. Okay, let me watch IGN stream. So that's what I ended up doing, and it kind of strained out. But I do think that the stream was a little bit messed up in general. So I'll give them that, maybe that there was maybe a technical issue. But yeah, that's a common thing, is like, sometimes, I mean, maybe not super common, but like sometimes, yeah, you feel like a character that should be like have a huskier voice or something because they're bigger shouldn't have like that small voice that they're given by a voice actor. So yeah, I mean, I personally didn't like listen, I guess, that closely to really get that from this trailer, but I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about this game as far as like entertaining me. I'll try it out because apparently this game's coming out in August, but I mean, this is one of the games that just didn't really excite me a whole lot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's for a certain type of gamer, Chris. It's not for everyone, and I think that's what's pretty cool about these sort of games, that they apply to certain audiences, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I think it's going to be a 3-chapter game. So hey, maybe that was all footage from chapter 1, and chapter 2 and chapter 3 are phenomenal. But we'll see. We'll see. And the cool thing is, like I said, it's on Game Pass, so hey, it's worth a try. Seeing how it is, you might like it. Moving on to some other awesome games from Microsoft first-party studios. We have a game that I've been waiting for a long time, and it's made by a renowned development studio Double Fine, who have made countless awesome games from the past, and it's so awesome that Microsoft Xbox Studios have grabbed these guys to be on their team because they are making Psychonauts 2, and it looks freaking phenomenal. What do you guys have to say about this trailer?
It was a unique trailer. I'll give it that. Unique art style. I love it. I just the way they did the Double Fine 20 years logo. That was pretty cool. But it's good to see Tim Schafer and Jack Black return. It's been a while since the first Psychonauts. Jolly game, and it's good to have him back. Really cool, man.
Yeah, what do you think about Jack Black on this one, JT?
When I saw the Double Fine logo show up, and I heard Jack Black's voice, I got so excited that maybe we were getting Legend 2. But seeing Double Fine, Jack Black, and Tim Schafer back together working on another game is awesome. I will go back and play the first Psychonauts, and I will definitely be playing this.
Yeah, so this is a game that is so good for Xbox to have in its portfolio because, we have various shooters with Gears and Halo, and now this is a straight-up really fun platformer. I played it on Steam maybe 3 years ago. I mean, the game's been out for over a decade, but I recently played it in relation to that. And it's just so psychedelic. Like, I feel like the music track, the way they portray, like they showed the gameplay was so unique compared to any other gameplay reveals for any other games. Because you have Jack Black, he's doing like behind the scenes, like with the mic, with Tim Schafer having a good old time, and they're splicing in like gameplay, and it keeps coming, and it gets more prevalent throughout the trailer, and it's just like the music that he is putting out there matches so perfectly with this psychedelic, like crazy brain stuff that you're playing through. It's just like that perfect mesh,
It's a bit trippy. I'll give it that.
Yes.
Yeah. So
if Brutal Legend is the metal by Tenacious D, this game is the Sasquatch mushroom scene from Pick of Destiny.
Oh man, I'll have to take your word for that because I shamefully haven't seen it yet, but I still haven't watched that movie. But I love Jack Black, and he's been having a great old time on YouTube with his own YouTube channel, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with Psychonauts and probably were a little bit confused by what the heck you were watching during the showcase, Psychonauts is a game where you are basically going inside. You are like a psychic warrior type kid who you go to a camp and you're learning how to be like a psychic infiltrator. I forget the exact name of their position, but anyway, you like open doors into people's brains and you go inside their minds and what they're thinking, and it's portrayed in platforming and puzzling. And what Tim Schafer has said about Psychonauts 2 is like literally every level is going to feel completely different. The way it looks, the way it feels, the abilities you have, because you're going into a completely different brain. So it's like I say, it's so unique. Of course, Tim Schafer's behind this game because he's done lots of games like Brutal Legend and Broken Age, which is actually his most recent game on PC, which is more of an adventure like the Monkey Island games or whatever. So he goes back way in the old LucasArts days. So it's a great get for them, and again, it's a nice thing to add to the portfolio for like that good old platforming game that you want to have for pretty much anybody to enjoy. Moving along here, we are getting into the Obsidian part of this stream here, and first off, we have the Outer Worlds. So I was going to say the Outer Wilds, which is another Xbox game. The Outer Worlds expansion. What do you think about this, JT? I know you've played a little bit of Outer Worlds.
Well, the Outer Worlds is the best Fallout game since Fallout New Vegas.
Which Obsidian?
That's exactly my point. Outer Worlds is wild, man. It's just wacky. The skill tree, all the skills are super in depth. I mean, I have yet to fully finish it, but I have two separate playthroughs going, one on my Xbox and one on my PS4. But
Whoa.
that's just my video game ADHD. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a great game. It's fun. All the characters are wacky.
Yep.
The humor is so
Mm-hmm.
morbid and mature. It's a hilarious game.
Yeah, yeah. I have played when it came out. It was on Game Pass. I was like, all right, I'm gonna at least try this game. And it came out like, of course, during a huge rush of the fall game. So I played it for all of maybe one night, which maybe was like 2 hours of time. And I was like, oh, this is a really good experience. And I forget what happened because like all these other games came out. I was like, I gotta play these. I gotta play these. And it was like game HD, ADHD kind of thing going on. And I still have yet to go back, but I could respect what I played, and it felt like an old-fashioned like Fallout game, like you were saying. So it's kind of like a spiritual successor in a way. Do you have any thoughts on the Outer Worlds there, Jeff?
Haven't played it yet, but happy they made that game. Really cool. Happy they're making an expansion to it. Make a sequel, you know.
Yeah, Obsidian's doing so much work over there. They have three separate teams. So their other team, I've already played this game actually. It's called Grounded. It's a Honey I Shrunk the Kids kind of game where you literally are going around. It's like Ark Survival. If you guys have played those types of games where you start off, you basically have like nothing. You have to like craft a lot of stuff to survive, and it's pretty neat because they had it on Steam for like a demo for a couple days, and it's going to be going into early access. Actually, pretty much less than a week from today. Less than a week. It's on July 28th. I guess that is Tuesday. It's going to be going in, and you could just, I don't know how you're going to be able to access it through Game Pass or something. I know it's an early access, but does this game interest either of you guys?
I don't know if I'm really interested in it. But it's unique for Obsidian. It's unique that they're making this sort of game. I love the trailer that they showed today because the voiceover announcer was like aware of that. He's like, "This is Obsidian Entertainment, who doesn't make this kind of a game."
Oh
It
my
was very
gosh,
funny.
I was laughing my ass off at that trailer because they were literally, I literally said out loud, they're like, this is the biggest game of the year. And I literally said, like, BS on that. I was like, sorry guys, I played your game. It isn't that good. And then they came up with the logo of Cyberpunk. I'm like, well played. Well played. And then they kept dissing their own game. Like you said, they said something else like later on in this trailer. Well, like at least they're well aware of what they fit in with the gaming culture right now. So, but what I did play, I'll tell you a little bit about Grounded. I played like the little beta. It was interesting. Like I couldn't get really into it because it's one of those games where you do not have a clear goal, and it's like they throw you into the wild and you just kind of do whatever you want. I kind of need a little bit more structure. Maybe they will increase. It's going to be an early access, so maybe more people talk about criticisms like that. Maybe they'll give you like more evidence of like waypoints and stuff. But like it was cool. You're walking around. There's giant blades of grass. There's gigantic Coke cans. You go to a deck and there's like big ass beetles and stuff that like two shot you. So it definitely has like that kind of Fallout kind of vibe with these big creatures that'll like two shot you and stuff like that. But it's definitely seeming like it's gonna be a game that is gonna be for like multiple people. You might not have a whole lot of fun. It's gonna be like Sea of Thieves. Like you go in with friends. You don't really play alone. Although I play Sea of Thieves a lot alone, and it's still fun. But you get my drift. Now, this is what I'm most excited for, and this is what Microsoft needs, quite frankly, is the next game that we are talking about, and I can't wait to talk about this, and that is Avowed. This is a fully fledged RPG built for Xbox Series X. It's going to be first person, and man, that CG trailer got me super hyped because this is set in like a fantasy setting. This is going to be awesome.
This gives me Baldur's Gate vibes, dude.
Yeah, see, I haven't played Baldur's Gate, so you might have to
Yeah.
enlighten more on that because I.
Actually, just think of you played Dragon Age Origins. It's
Oh
very
yeah.
similar. It's like a spiritual successor.
Okay. Okay, I'm down.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think, JT? I know you have a lot to say about this one.
One of the first things that stood out to me about Avowed was I guess you would call it runic, but the runic magic that you see, the sword covered in runes, and you see he goes to use this magic spell, and it
Mm-hmm.
it immediately reminded me of The Witcher 3, and with all the Witcher sign, and how there was like even in The Witcher 3 when you do the magic and he puts out his hand, you can see the sign being projected from his hand. So I'm very excited to see how the combat will play out. And hopefully, since it's Obsidian and not Bethesda, maybe the magic in one hand and sword in the other hand will be a little bit smoother than Skyrim.
I first got like Doctor Strange vibes immediately. Like you see the hand and it's got the runes like in a circular fashion going around his hand. I'm like, oh, he's like Doctor Strange. But like just the whole cinematic view of like the arrow flying through and you're following that arrow through this like huge battle, the flaming arrow, it's going through the hole in the ground and it's just pure darkness. It's going to be a very dark, gritty, mature game, I'm sure. This is what I want from a next gen RPG. I mean, I didn't really see much, but I'm just happy that it's confirmed that these guys are working on something, because it's like, okay, you see them doing Outer Worlds, like great, that's a cool game. It's like you see them doing Grounded, and yeah, I appreciate the game, but I'm like, these guys, like, they have so much talent, like they can't just be working on Grounded right now, right? Like, so you understand, like, oh man, this is gonna be big. Like this is what Microsoft really needs right now. So
yeah, this is going to be what the Elder Scrolls 6 contends against, for sure. So God Howard better step it up.
Yes, so getting into our next game I want to talk about. This is actually the last one for the first party releases, and this is a game where I kind of knew it was coming, but when it was fully announced, I pretty much just like threw my headset off on the ground and I was like, all right, I'm done. Like this is Xbox right here. Like this is it, game over. And we are getting Fable from Playground Games. Playground Games.
This has been rumored for too long, man. They finally got it.
I mean, they had a Twitter account that's been inactive and stuff like that, so it's like, okay, when are they actually gonna legit announce this game? We've been wanting it. We got Halo 1, 2, and we got Fable 1, 2, and 3 from Lionhead Studios, which unfortunately has been shuttered for some time now. Quick story, they did try to launch a game called Fable Legends, which was back in those days when everybody thought a 4v one game could be really successful, and they had games like Evolve and they had games like Shadow Realms or something from BioWare, and pretty much none of those ended up doing much. So actually, but none of those really. Shadow Realms never came out, and Fable Legends got shuttered. So that was the last we ever heard of Fable. But even when that came out, people were really disgruntled. Like, come on, like, why are you making this game? Like, you guys could put all your hard work and money toward a fully fledged like Fable 4 or something. But what were your guys' initial reactions of this long-awaited franchise being finally revealed to come out?
Go ahead, JT.
Well,
Go ahead, JT.
Well, one thing I did notice is it seems to be sticking with this trend of these staple Xbox franchises. Kind of doing a turnaround and going to a little bit of a reboot. I mean, you have Halo Infinite doing a reboot.
Yeah.
You have Forza Motorsport not having a number at the end of it. And now we have a Fable. You know, it's not Fable 4, it's just Fable. So, is this a reboot that's following the story? Is it an entire remake of the series?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of fans will say, like, okay, Fable, if you guys aren't familiar, like, it progresses with the way the time period looks in each game. You start off in a very medieval type of game, then it goes into almost like more of like a steampunk-ish or whatever, like a Victorian age, I guess you can call it, where they actually have guns and stuff like that. It's more industrial. And I think people really wanted to see the game come back to its roots of just being that fantasy type experience where it's more ingrained with just like the sword and board type of mage kind of stuff. So I think if they're calling it Fable without a number, hopefully they're just like rebooting the whole thing, and it's going to be exactly that.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. I think it's really cool that there's another entry in the franchise. Really awesome.
Yeah, I Fable stands out as a really cool game that doesn't take itself super seriously. So a lot of games that you'll see coming out, I mean, I don't mean to point a finger directly at Sony, because Xbox has a lot of games like this, like Gears of War and stuff. Is like you get a lot of these really dark games where it's like there's not a whole lot of humor, there's not a whole lot of lightheartedness to them. But Fable is kind of like that remedy that I think the whole gaming sphere needs, because even in the trailer they know that we want that humor, because they have the frog that is like eating the beautiful fairy that's flying around. It's like that's the end. It's like, oh, that's perfect, because Fable has always been developed by like British developers, right? You know, it was first done by Lionhead, now it's Playground Games. And the funny part was, or the interesting part is, Playground Games would develop Forza Horizon games. So this is their first take into the Fable world. They're going to be using probably the engines that they created for the open world in Forza, and I think maybe even they can share maybe stuff for like Sea of Thieves, water effects, maybe stuff like that, to like really make these open worlds feel massive. But yeah, this is one of the pillars of Xbox coming back home again. We got Gears, we got Halo, and we got Fable, which also is a third person RPG. So we got our first person RPG from Obsidian. We have our third person RPG from Fable. We have our platformer. Like, this is what I mean. Like, Xbox has been checking off the boxes. Like, okay, what do gamers want for Xbox? What other void do we have to fill? And I think they've been doing a really good job with that so far, especially with just what we've seen from these first party studios so far. So, getting into, we're going to step out of the first party games. We're going to go into some optimization with the Series X. So we know that the Series X, you're going to be able to do the smart delivery, which means basically you can play a game on Xbox One and then play a certain game on Xbox Series X, and it's actually going to enhance the gameplay. It's going to increase the frame rate to 60 frames per second to 120 frames per second. It's going to up-res it to 4K. It's going to increase the hertz to make the motion flow better on different monitors and stuff like that. So we did get confirmation this holiday. We are getting optimized games for Forza Horizon 4. We are getting for Gears 5, Gears Tactics, which, interesting enough, has already been out on PC, so they do confirm that Tactics will be out on Series X this year. And we also get Sea of Thieves, and finally a game that I just finished recently, and it's one of the best games I've ever played on Xbox One for this generation, and that is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, an amazing platformer. And when they were having a developer talk about the game, I was like, oh my gosh, I almost was like, I should have waited to play the game, or maybe I'll just play it again on my Series X, because they were talking about 120 frames per second, 4K HDR. That game already looks amazing. Like, come on, you're telling me that? I'm like, I guess I got a reason to play the game again. So what do you guys think about those cool details about just getting everything up-res like that without even having to pay for the game again?
Yeah, it's part of their, I forgot what their program was called, but it's so like if you have the Xbox One version, if you get a Series X, you immediately get it. And it's part of that. It's a really cool program that Xbox has, and I think there are only benefits from this. Mm-hmm. And I think Microsoft's really betting on the goodwill to increase sales of their console.
Yeah, certainly. This is definitely going to go further for the value of their members, of like, okay, like you can play this game, you don't have to leave it behind, and hey, come revisit this game. Like, oh, I would definitely go back and play Gears 5 if I have if I get a better monitor that has 4K and HDR and all that. It'll look so much better. And the difference between playing a game in 30 frames per second to playing it in 60 frames per second, or even 120 frames per second, is like a huge difference. And it's going to be pretty cool to see how that transitions like natively. Like, a lot of these games that are going to be coming out, even the older games that you play, are going to get up-resed without even any work from the development studios themselves. Like, it's all done through like the hardware of the Xbox Series X, which is pretty incredible stuff. Mm-hmm. So next off, I want to talk a little bit. There is games, they would call them console launch exclusives. So I think what that means is it's like the Xbox Series X might get them like a couple months before, let's say, the PS5 or something. So there's a couple games that I have listed here. I have first off, I have this game called The Medium, and this is really cool because this game is going to be a different kind of gameplay than anything I think we've seen so far, where you're actually playing one character and she's also existing in like another like spiritual realm at the same time, and you actually coordinate things between like a split screen. I thought that was really neat, and it was also really creepy at the same time. And that was another theme I've noticed in this showcase, was there was like a lot of horror type experiences where I'm like, okay, Xbox is really leaning into this now. So do you guys have anything to say about the medium?
The medium is going to be. This is my prediction. The medium is going to be the game that Silent Hill fans have been waiting for. Immediately, as soon as this trailer started doing the back and forth between it'll show you the flash of one world, and then the screen changes and it's like the exact same framing but a completely different world, and that screams Silent Hill immediately. Definitely a lot of psychological horror vibes to it. Probably a lot of puzzles, more of less of the puzzles you would think of in like a traditional Silent Hill or Resident Evil game, but more puzzles with coordinating the characters when you have both screens going at the same time. I don't think that the whole game is going to be split screen like that. I think that would be a little overwhelming. Especially for someone who's getting Series X as like their first jump into gaming. That's just that split screen the whole time would be overwhelming.
Actually, yeah, I did watch after, if you watched the Game Awards show, they did have a couple they had that world premiere of like an extended cut of that trailer, and they do mention like the guy that was like one of the developers was like, yeah, that split screen thing only lasts for so long because the character can only take it in her mind to do that for so long. So it's going to be like a cooldown, or only certain segments of a level will you have that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that too much.
Yeah, it's definitely. I expect that it's probably going to be more of a puzzle mechanic than anything.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind too. I was like, oh, is this like a Silent Hill reboot? Because it seriously gave me those Silent Hill vibes. I'm like, nah, Silent Hill does not have split screen. But it's neat that they're doing different things with the hardware, like on their end, like the way the CPU is designed for the Series X is it's way more complex, that it can split out its assets that way. And so yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool game. Again, this is going to be available, I think, for the PS5 and probably Steam and stuff as well. But I think it might be a timed exclusive is the phrase I was looking for from before. They call it the console launch exclusive. That's the Xbox's way of saying it. Another game is called The Gunk. It's based off of Steam World 2 or something like that. I don't know. This game looked really cool to me. I don't know what it's about, but it was like this really cool art style of this girl that looked like she was like bionic woman, just running around this really cool environment and like sucking up this gunk. I don't know. That looked kind of entertaining to me. What did you guys think about this?
Pretty cool. I don't have much to say, but yeah, pretty cool.
The gunk looks like if No Man's Sky was a little more focused and fun.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
I mean, as soon as she landed on that planet, just like the art style and just the way everything looked, it just screamed No Man's Sky to me. But obviously it's more on the adventure kind of platforming, maybe a little bit of action. There was a little hint of that enemy creature at the end of the trailer.
Okay. Yeah.
So it'll definitely be interesting, for sure.
Yeah, and one final game that I want to talk about from this collection of games here is Crossfire X. So this is a game that I think has already been out on Xbox Game Pass for a while, maybe. I hadn't heard about this game before it came out, but apparently it's like well regarded as like a really good game overseas. A lot of people play this shooter, and it was like a big get for Microsoft to get this on Game Pass and in their studios. And it's a multiplayer game up until now. They've announced that Remedy, of all people, Remedy Studios, the guys that did Alan Wake and the guys that did Quantum Break and Control, which I still haven't played, and I gotta play it, I know. But they're making the single player. You know, I think the writer is probably Sam Lake. He's the one that does like a lot of the writing for all their games. So I'm like, okay, I immediately perked up like, oh, this is made by Remedy. They do nothing but amazing storylines. But it looks like to me, it still looks like it's kind of like a generic like Call of Duty-esque game where you're just going around shooting things. I didn't see a whole lot of things that stuck out to me that was like, oh, this is really unique, you know?
Yeah, the first thing that popped into my head was like Killzone, Call of Duty, like a hybrid of the two. That's the vibe I got from it.
Yeah, I think that I read the fine print, and it was weird because the fine print, I'm pretty sure, said like, okay, you can play this multiplayer on Game Pass, but you have to pay for the single player yourself. It's like, what? I think that's what I've seen. At the bottom screen at one point. But anyway, we'll see about that. I mean, I still want to try it because like I want to play everything Remedy makes. They originally made Max Payne, and Control is one of the best games of the year from 2019. So it's probably worth checking out at least for the story. Getting into a huge reveal that I didn't see coming, and I don't think anybody else seen coming, is Destiny is going to be partnering with Xbox to be on Game Pass. They're going to go all in on Xbox, and they're going to get this expansion on the Xbox. What is it called? Something of the Light or something like that. The next expansion that's coming out in November, it got pushed back, is going to be on Xbox Game Pass along with everything else. So immediately I see your reaction. Explain yourself, sir. JT, you're not looking like you're so happy about this deal.
Man, Bungie has been ripping off their day one players with Destiny since the first one came out. Every single time a new expansion comes out, a new version of the game drops with the expansion for the price of the original game. So everyone who's been on the wagon since day one pays for the initial game $60, pays for the next expansion $20, pays for the next expansion another $20, pays for the year two, big year two update $40, and they just keep dumping their money in. But if you just wait, you just buy a version for $60, and you get hundreds of dollars worth of DLC for free. And the fact that they're now going to more of a, they've already gone free to play.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of players should be getting refunds for the money they've put in for all these DLCs. I don't think they've been going about it a good way. It's just, yeah. I feel like their long-time dedicated players are getting screwed more than anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very interesting journey with Bungie, right? Like, they started off making one of the best games ever, Halo, of course. Then they decided they want to make a new game called Destiny, and, they partnered up with Activision, and that was going okay until Destiny 2, and then they severed their ties with them, but they also had a relationship with Sony at the same time, because they had a lot of this exclusive content, which really rubbed me the wrong way. I hated that. It was like this time-gated, like, year-long content, like strikes and stuff, that you couldn't play as an Xbox player for a year. And it was crazy.
There were still exotics on PS4 that you could never get on Xbox, no matter how long you waited.
That boggles my mind, because that's like gameplay. It's okay if it's like aesthetic stuff, like, oh, cool skins and stuff, but like, there are weapons in the game that affect how the game is played. Like, that shouldn't have been allowed. But anyway, yeah, it's a little bit weird. I myself play Destiny on Steam, so I mean, I think it's Beyond Light. That's the expansion I couldn't think of. Finally, Beyond Light, I'm gonna be pre-ordering on Steam because that's how I play the game. But yeah, I can understand like the frustration of everybody who had paid this kind of money. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, this is great for new players, and that's what it's aimed for. Obviously, like it's going to be aimed for like all those new players. Like now, you have no reason not to try Destiny 2 because it's all free starting September when you have all these things for free here or added in with Game Pass. But yeah, it's kind of a slippery slope to be honest with you because you can alienate your fan base that's been with you the whole time. Do you have any kind of input on this there, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I remember I played the first Destiny for a little bit, and I remember when they released the expansions, people were talking about how expensive they were, and divided player base and all that, and then what they've done with Destiny 2, where I think they're going to do it very soon if they haven't done it already, removing content, just saying, okay, players can only play this stuff, and so,
That was already paid for. Stuff that you already paid for, and they're taking it out because their game is so bugged, so they can put new stuff in.
Well, yeah, the whole Destiny Vault thing is it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of crappy at the same time. Like I'm actually actively playing Destiny 2 right now, and I've been having a blast. Like I haven't had this much fun playing Destiny really ever with the Seasons of Arrivals. It's like leading into Beyond Light expansion. It's like there's loot everywhere. There's so many activities that you can do that keep yourself entertained, and you just always have a good time. You're jumping in. You're working towards something. It's a really great like carrot on the stick mechanism where like yeah, I can always get my power level up. I can always get for the next best weapon, next piece of armor. So it's in a really really great place right now. So it's nice that players are going to be able to do that. But I think that's the whole thing though with games that are live service. I'm looking at games like World of Warcraft, for instance, like same thing there, right? Like you pay your base game and you pay the new expansion, it's $40. And then like right before the new expansion comes out, they're like, oh, you can get all the expansions and the base game for $20. It's like, unfortunately, that's just how these live service subscription types of games go. And with the whole thing with the Vault, I don't know. It's like weird how I guess they're claiming that they can't have this much content in the game because it'll make the game's code too large and they can't add certain things to it because it's just they're at overload. But then yeah, I don't know, it's like it's a whole nother conversation that I don't have a lot of information intellect to talk about, so I don't want to talk out my butt about it. But I'm looking at games like World of Warcraft that literally have every piece of content from year one that is still in the game, and it's like unbelievable. Of course, there's people paying $15 a month to like do maintenance so that stuff lives on, whereas Destiny doesn't have subscriptions, so that's like a whole nother thing there. But we are going to talk about some more big deals with Microsoft. And okay, so a little bit of a history lesson for you guys out there. Xbox has never really had a great relation with the Japanese audience or any of the Eastern audience, for to be example. I mean, yeah, Xbox is majorly an American. It's an American company, American console creator, software developer, but they've never had a great relations with them. They haven't had a lot of Japanese RPGs throughout the years, but it looks like they are starting to make some pretty big deals, especially with companies like Square Enix. So we got announced that they are getting some heavy hitters coming to the Xbox One family of systems for the first time. We are getting, let's see, it is a Dragon Quest 11, and they are making this brand new game called Balan Wonderworld. Now, I am not the person to talk about these types of games because I just don't play them because I couldn't really get into them for whatever reason. I'm not a huge JRPG fan or that kind of gamer. Do you guys have any experience with any of these types of games?
oh my God, I love Dragon Quest 11.
Nice.
I have Dragon Quest 11S on the Switch, and I have the original one on PS4. And I didn't even see the entire trailer. Did they really add new things?
I think again, I don't know what's new, what's not, but I know it's a new edition. It says like something definitive edition.
Yeah, okay, so it sounds like it's the same version as the Switch then. So yeah, the Switch, they added stuff that wasn't on the PS4 version, like what happens after the big climax of the game's first act. Like you get more into depth on your party members and what they do, like in between the story. And then they also added like this really cool old-fashioned 2D mode,
Oh.
which is really, it looks like an NES game. It looks incredible.
Yeah, that's what they
man.
showed in the trailer. I remember seeing that.
Yes. So it looks like it's the same version as the Switch. That's really cool.
Nice, nice. They also announced another game that I know a lot of fans are going probably crazy for right now. They announced Fantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. I remember this Fantasy Star 2 came out for the Xbox One maybe a couple months ago, and people were really happy about it because it was only released in Japan, I'm pretty sure, and it's like now in America. So seeing that Xbox is starting to make these deals with Square Enix, with Sega, it leads me to believe that, hey, maybe they'll actually start to get more numbers from Japan as far as like people buying our consoles, because you go to Japan and pretty much everybody has a Sony product, as they should, because most of their games are developed for them, and they have a lot of the libraries basically that are Nintendo for the most part. So I think it's a really good deal for Microsoft to start branching out a little bit into these other gaming cultures.
Yeah, really. I mean, they've been trying to penetrate the Japanese. Sorry, JT, but they've been trying to penetrate the Japanese market for years and never really sticked. And in recent years, they made a concerted effort with stuff like releasing Phantasy Star Online 2 in the West, and they're working more with Japanese publishers and developers. They had a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot from the other year. So that they're really trying to be global, because that's the big advantage that PlayStation and Nintendo have, is they're huge in Japan. Yeah.
And we're going to switch over to the one of the final topics here I want to talk about is Game Pass. So it was really awesome right off the bat. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, he's awesome. He's so passionate about his platform, and I love hearing the guy talk about anything Xbox. And he just right off the bat, he just lets off a bomb. He's like, every game we're showing today is on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you can play any of these games day one when they come out. I thought that was just a huge, huge message. As if anybody who has Xbox isn't on Game Pass, I don't know what you're waiting for. I mean, I get it. Like, if you have multiple systems, if you have a PlayStation, if you have a Switch, okay, maybe Game Pass might not be for you. But if you're primarily an Xbox or a PC player, like, you really should have Game Pass, especially after watching today's, like, all these games we've been talking about. We're all gonna get them as soon as they come out on Game Pass. What are your guys' thoughts on Game Pass in general?
I think it's a great system. It sucks that sometimes a lot of the really good games might get cycled out before you get to play them. But it's a great system. And if you can't afford the Game Pass, and you want to get it, occasionally buy something off the Xbox Live Store, grind achievements, grind those daily quests. You will get your rewards points. Go into the rewards center and get those codes for Game Pass Ultimate. I have them stacked until September right now. I got my new Xbox One S all digital edition December of last year, and I haven't paid for a month of Xbox Live or Game Pass.
You heard it here first, folks. We got JT giving out some fire pro tips over here, man. That is some really cool system, and that's the thing. Like, I didn't pay full price for Game Pass either. Like, I don't even know how it happened. Like at one point when Xbox Live was separate from Game Pass, they're like, oh yeah, if you buy a certain amount of months of Xbox Live, it'll just add together with Game Pass. So I essentially paid for like 2 years worth of Game Pass for like $10, or like $50 max. I think I paid for like 2 more years of Game Pass. I'm like, I think I'm cheating, but I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm telling you, like, I think it's $15 a month, and I'd even mention this. We might as well talk about this too. They made a recent announcement. I'm not familiar. I don't know if you guys watching are familiar with game streaming yet. It's brand new. That's what Google Stadia is. But Xbox has something called Project xCloud, and when you get Game Pass Ultimate, which is basically the PC Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, and Xbox Gold bundled together for $15 a month, it's also going to include xCloud. And when they mentioned Destiny 2, they were also like, oh yeah, you'll be able to play that on xCloud. It's like crazy, because Google Stadia, on the other hand, has you paying a certain price for a subscription and then also paying for each game separately on top of that, where xCloud you don't need to pay anything. Anything on Game Pass is pretty much playable on your phone anywhere you want to go if you have good internet. So, like honestly, the Xbox is really like leading the charge with not just Game Pass as being like the Netflix for games, but they're going to be out there on the forefront of like really pioneering this technology with being able to play a game anywhere. If you go on vacation, whatever, you could just pop out your phone, your tablet, and you'll have access to your game library. Eventually, it's going to be, I think, like all your games you own. But right now, it's just a select few. Like Halo Infinite's going to be on there. Sea of Thieves is already on there. Gears of 5, I think, is on there already. So, do you guys have any thoughts on cloud gaming in general?
Well, I mean, Xbox has marketed it perfectly. Like get all these games at a low price. That's very attractive, very cool. And I haven't played Game Pass personally, so I don't know the quality of playing game content, but it sounds like Game Pass is significantly better than Google Stadia.
Yeah, I haven't played xCloud either. With the streaming, I mean, Game Pass right now, you just download the games. If you're playing it like on your system or on PC, you just download the games. I know with PlayStation Now, I think it was before they had you streaming the games to your PlayStation, and that would be a little iffy because if you didn't have good internet, it wouldn't really come out very well. But at least with Game Pass, you download them. But yeah, with xCloud, of course, you'll be streaming it. So it really does depend on your internet, right? It does. It comes down to your internet, how strong that is to be able to stream these big games. But it's still going to be so useful for the people that are on the fence about getting a Series X. They want to play some of these games at a higher fidelity than their system hardware is capable of doing. They could at least be able to take advantage of that there.
I mean, also, if you're iffy about buying the console outright, there's also the payment plan system that they're coming out with, which is probably the way I'll be going with it. Because I will be getting a PS5 as well, and I'm not paying full price for two consoles.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen. So I will be on the payment plan for the Xbox Series X.
That is, sure. Yeah. Let's see. I can pull up the name, I think, for that as I'm looking through this article here. But yeah, that was something that was really cool that I don't think a lot of people know about, is that you don't have to pay full price for the game. You do have to have a certain credit score, mind you. I do remember reading that somewhere. But yeah, if you're not ready to jump on board, you financially can't do it, but you want to be at the forefront of gaming, like definitely go ahead and look into that feature. I'm not sure exactly what it is called, but you guys can look it up. It's like something with a subscription or something. I think you pay like $20 something a month. And it also gives you Game Pass along, like bundled with that price. So again,
yeah, Game Pass and Xbox Live as well. Yeah.
Oh, you know what it's called? It's called Xbox All Access.
All Access.
That's it. Low monthly price with no upfront costs, no finance charges, and no hidden fees. So there you go. If you guys want to look into that, that's definitely another really good way to go. And hey, if you never have had an Xbox before, you go get that, and you don't even have to buy a single game because it's going to have Game Pass, and it's going to have games like all the Halo games with Master Chief. It's going to have all the Gears of War games. Anything first party is going to be on there, so it's like a no-brainer. Like, you're going to just have so much content. And we're talking about the first party games on Game Pass, and JT was mentioning before as well about a lot of the games come and go, like kind of like Netflix is. There is a lot of third-party publishers that put games on there as well. Like, you got Bethesda games on there. Like, you'll see games like Fallout 4 was on there. They have Fallout 76 right now. They had Mortal Kombat, which might still be. They have a Tomb Raider game. Like, pretty much almost like every major publisher other than like EA is pretty much on, and Ubisoft games aren't on there. But pretty much any other. They even have Red Dead Redemption 2, which I think is one of the best games ever made, is on there. So it's I can't stress it enough. Game Pass is just like the ultimate gaming value right now. Moving into some things that we didn't see. They did say that we've seen 9 out of the 15 studios that were on the ballot for that live stream. But there's a couple big standouts, studios I noticed that were on that list that they showed that weren't there. And there are some big name development studios, and that is In Exile, first off. In Exile, they are one of the OG like Fallout developers that made like the top-down versions of Fallout. like back in the day. They are working on Wasteland 3 right now. They are confirmed to have been working on like I think it's using Unreal 5, like a next gen RPG. So again, like Xbox is really putting its chips down on these next gen RPGs. So do you guys know anything about In Exile? I know they're like more of a lesser known studio. I haven't really heard of them before I started looking into them.
Yeah, I haven't heard of them either. I've heard of Compulsion and the Initiative,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember in Exile. It's a cool branding name, I have to say.
Yeah, Compulsion Games, and this is a studio that I was following for a while because they were putting out this We Happy Few game, and the craziest part is I still haven't played We Happy Few. I know I'm terrible. I was like following this game. I did a YouTube video years ago of like my top 10 games of E3, and it like landed on like number 9 or something on my list. It was like a very BioShock looking game where you take like a happy joy pill and you go around the world, and it's like procedurally generated, I'm pretty sure, and you just like stop yourself from going crazy or something. But anyway, they are making a game probably because they weren't there. So what the heck could they be making? I mean, We Happy Few was. I think they could make another cool game similar to that, where it's a first-person perspective of a really like good narrative, deep character development experience. So, do you guys have anything to say about Compulsion? No.
Hope they announce something soon.
Yeah, and of course I got to talk about the Initiative. So the Initiative is like this huge team, and somebody in Xbox was putting it out there that these are like a quadruple A studio, which it's like what the heck is a quadruple A studio when we always talk about triple A, right? Like oh my gosh, like this game has like the A team of developers. Like this Initiative group takes people from like the God of War series and like all these other like PlayStation studios and stuff have like come over to work for the Initiative, and I don't know why this rumor is going around, but apparently it's a very big rumor that it could be a Perfect Dark game, like the rebooted Perfect Dark. And I can't speak for Perfect Dark because I've never really played the games. They had the original, which a lot of people loved on N64, is very similar to GoldenEye at the time, and then they re-released it on not re-released, they did a new version of it on 360. Perfect Dark Zero. I don't even know what the subtitle was.
Yeah,
But
Zero.
oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, do you guys have anything to say about Perfect Dark or the Initiative, or maybe what kind of game you'd want to see from the Initiative?
God, oh man, Perfect Dark. Then they got to bring that back. I thought I heard rumors about that before this press briefing.
Yeah.
But I love Perfect Dark on the N64, and I remember having some good co-op sessions, or it was really like free for all with other people, with some friends. But hope it returns. I was kind of hoping, didn't think they would bring it back, but I was kind of hoping they would.
Yeah. What about you, JT?
I never really played it myself. The most memory that comes up in my mind when I hear Perfect Dark is the old days of Max Play
Oh, those are the good old days.
and cheat and seeing all those tips and tricks and
Oh,
cheat codes
man.
for Perfect Dark Zero back in the day.
Oh man.
But I've tried it a couple times, just couldn't really get into the gameplay. I mean, I'm someone who started PlayStation with the PS1, and I started playing Xbox with the original Xbox.
Okay.
I didn't, I had handheld. I had
Yep.
Nintendo for a while, but I touch. I've never really played anything like Dreamcast or N64. So some of these classic games that are coming back and being redone as modern games is neat to see.
Yeah, for sure.
If that's what they're doing, I would like to play a modernized version of Perfect Dark. Absolutely.
Yeah, we mentioned that off the top of the show. It's like, yeah, we're dropping the numbers and we're going back to not basics, but we're going back to nostalgia. Tapping into that nostalgia, doing what worked for the games in the first place, and going back to the roots, but enhancing them in ways like obviously with graphics, but gameplay mechanics as well. People were even saying that this could be like the the Splinter Cell that is not officially Splinter Cell. Like this could be that stealth action game that could be perfect dark mixed with Splinter Cell. I love Splinter Cell, so I want to see it come back. But if this would be like the spiritual successor somehow to a Splinter Cell game, then yeah, I'm all here for that.
All I'm saying is it better be better than Blacklist.
I never even played that one. I say I'm a fan of Splinter Cell, but I'm probably a bad fan because I played like 3 of them, I think, and probably 2 of them I never even finished. I just remember playing the original one so much, and at the time I played it on GameCube, believe it or not. So I can't even say I'm a fan because it was Xbox. But I do want to kind of start wrapping things up. But first, before we do that, do we have any any games we maybe like speculated upon seeing, games we really wanted to see that weren't announced?
Wanted to see what the heck WB Montreal and Rocksteady Studios are doing. Come on, man. I know they said they're going to announce some stuff at DC Fandom next month, but we've been waiting so long to see what WB Montreal and Rocksteady are doing. I hope they announce something soon. I was hoping to see something here, but we didn't. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and there was a lot of rumors going around for a long time that the parent company of WB Games is actually like shopping it around, like they're trying to get rid of some of their assets, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll let you guys buy this if you really want it, which for a ridiculous price of $4 billion, which is probably a good deal once you put out a couple good games. Like that's the same price that Disney bought Lucasfilm for. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping for them to like drop a bomb like that. Like, okay, we acquired Warner Brothers Studios. We have access to Mortal Kombat. We have access to the DC characters and all that kind of stuff. That'd be mind-blowingly good. But I mean, maybe they're still in talks. Maybe there's a possibility. These were all first-party games really talked about today. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll hear something at the Fandom event, which I believe is at the end of August, end of next month. So yeah, have you ever played any of the Rocksteady Arkham games there, JT?
I have. I dabbled in Arkham Asylum a little bit. I beat Arkham City.
Nice.
Played a lot of Arkham Knight. Arkham Origins, I can't say I enjoyed. I'm too connected to my Kevin Conroy and my Mark Hamill. If it's not them, I can't do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. We are spoiled with those two voice actors when it comes to those characters. They are so good. I'll start by talking about a game I really wanted to see. And that was a game that a lot of people have wanted to see for a very long time. Ever since acquiring Rare, people have been clamoring for the next installment of the Banjo-Kazooie series. And man, I was really hoping for Rare to just drop that. Like, come on, I know you're working on Everwild. I know you have Sea of Thieves, but we could get another developer to work on it entirely. And people have been throwing around the name of Double Fine creating a Banjo-Kazooie game. And the more I think about it, the more that makes a lot of sense, because Banjo-Kazooie was always that kind of goofy pairing up of a bird and a bear, and it was just like these characters that were so over the top. Like you have Mumbo Jumbo, this totem dude, and all these really funny sounding characters. I think that Double Fine would be a perfect studio to really bring that back to life if Rare's like too busy to make that game. Do you guys have anything to say about Banjo-Kazooie 3?
I never really played any of the Banjo games, so I can't speak to it.
Oh man, I remember when we saw the announcement or the trailer of Rare's game. I was really, at first I'm like, was this Banjo 3? Are they doing it?
Yeah, no, I think it would just really be a nice addition again to like having another kind of platforming game that isn't just like a lot of shooting things. Like it's just like a nice game to like have like an all ages game, right? Like because Xbox has been promoting a lot of more mature games. It's going to be nice to get Psychonauts 2, but maybe even another type of game that's more lighthearted like that. JT, do you have any other hopes that maybe didn't come true in this stream at least?
I was hoping to see a little more about maybe the Lego Star Wars Skywalker saga.
I know.
I've been hearing rumors on and off about like an up-resed or remastered Mass Effect trilogy, the original trilogy. Um, I would have liked to hear some about that. Um, but one thing I think Xbox should definitely do soon is find a comic book company that, like, I mean, either Marvel or DC or whatever, but they need a flagship superhero game.
Yeah,
That's gonna,
because PlayStation has that with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
because Spider-Man PS4
And
is,
Iron Man, they have Iron Man VR.
Right. And then Miles Morales coming on PS5.
yes. Spider-Man PS4, one of the few games I've bothered platinuming for trophies, the PS4 achievements, but 100% everything, all the trophies, everything in the game, 11 out of 10 experience.
Whoa.
And Spider-Man Miles Morales coming up, that's one of the reasons I'm getting a PS5 almost immediately, because I cannot sleep on that game. I won't sleep on that game. So I think Xbox needs a good flagship Xbox exclusive superhero game to keep them up to speed with Sony.
Yeah, I have an idea. Just let them do the Valorant universe, because seriously, people sleep on the Valorant universe of comics with with all these characters like Bloodshot and Man of War and all these really like crazy over the top characters. I think that would be pretty cool, but yeah, they need to get Warner Brothers. They need to get Warner Brothers. They have to put out a direct competitor, make a Superman game. Everybody would freaking love that. Like make Rocksteady make a Superman game, and there you go. Or there's like any kind of combination of DC characters they could just throw in there. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. But yeah, I definitely want to talk about Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. I don't know what's going on with that game. It's so weird how
It's weird. They did this weird thing where this week in Star Wars, the
yeah.
YouTube series, they revealed the release date.
Yep.
And and it's just like, and then they retracted.
They retracted it like 3 minutes later. They pulled the video down.
They planned that in advance until EA was like, we're releasing Squadrons on the big October 4th or something. And they're like, don't want Star Wars game to interfere with Star Wars.
But in the meantime, they've also like revealed this huge spread of Lego sets that are going to be coming out to coincide with the release of the game. So it's like, well, it has to be coming out this year, because they wouldn't push it back to next year if they have box art of the game on Legos that is going to be out in time for the game in October. But it's just like weird, because they announced Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga back last E3 during the Xbox conference. Like, this is the place where you're going to pick up and talk more about the game during the Xbox conference, since it was announced at one last year. So I really don't know what's going on. It's so weird that there's just no kind of discussion about it. The funny part was
I honestly thought we'd have the game by now, man.
yeah.
Well, they do. I mean, they have to redo, what is it, 7 games, and they still have to make a game for Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
Well, that is a bit oversimplified. They're making it from the ground up, so like they're not remastering the older games. But
I mean,
they're
not
adapting
remastering.
One of our buddies in the Star Wars Underworld, Chris Sequel, has actually watched somebody play the game. He went behind closed doors at E3 last year and was talking about like how great like this open world Lego game was, and it got me so excited. I'm like, they have gameplay. They've shown it over a year ago. Like, why can't they just show some of that gameplay? Like, I know the game's probably changed a lot since then, but it's like, oh man, it's just so weird.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's happened? COVID is affecting everything in development, so that may have had a hand to do as well. They might have planned on releasing it for the summer, but then they realized it wouldn't work, or like their game was buggy, or who knows what's happening.
Okay, so wrapping things up, I kind of want to just go around the panel here and just give our overall thoughts on what we thought about the game showcase. The games, the execution, how we feel after watching it. Like, how did Microsoft do? Let's just give it a grade. A, B, C, D, F, whatever. Like, let's just go through it. So, who do I want to put on the hot seat first? Let's go with Jeffrey first.
Yeah, B minus, 8.0 out of 10. It was, and granted, I'm comparing this to like an E3 presentation, so maybe too high expectations. But they showed a lot of good games. They showed a lot more than I expected. Although the PS5 reveal did the same thing for me. But it was a fun show, a lot of cool games, and it makes me hyped for the Series X.
Good. I mean, that's what they want to do, is they want to give people that excitement, that reason. I mean, anything could be really better than what they did with Xbox One, right? Where they were talking mostly about the TV function and the NFL tie-ins, where it was just
man.
oh, what is going on here? With that whole thing. So.
Yeah, and then like all the DRM and the big old gaming controversies. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So they didn't have a very high bar to go over on this one. But yeah, okay, so you said B minus. Okay, we're going to go over to JT. What are your thoughts on the Xbox Games Showcase, man?
I'm gonna put them around a B as well.
Nice.
I would like to see more gritty, mature kind of exclusives out of Xbox. I mean things like the Medium, Stalker game that they showed a trailer for that gave me a lot of like horror, even some like Kojima weirdness to it. And even Hellblade 2 as well. I haven't played the first one, but a lot of the psychological aspects to that change with what you do through the game. I would definitely like to see a little bit more of that kind of like darker, gritty, more mature content out of their exclusives, just to compete with PlayStation a little more.
Excellent. So we got a B minus, a B. My overall thoughts were, I really thought they did a good job. Their voice, their presentation was pretty good pacing. I thought like they did a good job of also like having the developers speak about their games personally, about like what's exciting them, what the games are like, what they're working with their teams, like with the whole COVID situation. I thought that was really good. I think that the presentation started off in a great way. They started off with Halo Infinite. They're going to start with their strongest gun first. They're setting a standard right there. They got you hooked in. It's like Halo, you don't have to wait for it. It's right there. And then they just kept leading into games that we maybe didn't think about, or games that surprised us. And they ended it with a huge bomb in my eyes, which was Fable, which everybody's been clamoring for. So, and throughout the whole time, they're talking about the Series X and about why it is that this ecosystem is going to be so good for gamers and so inclusive for people that even if you don't get the Series X, you're still going to be able to play a lot of these games. Some of the games further out, maybe not so much, but again, like hitting it home with the Game Pass and saying like, okay, all these games, if you guys are already in the ecosystem, they're going to be yours day one. There's so much variety. I think all the games, like I said before, there's 10 confirmed, actually more than 10, because I didn't even talk about Hellblade. I didn't put that on the list, but because they didn't really have any gameplay or anything really new to show about Hellblade. So they have over 10 first-party games, which was a huge problem with Xbox One. They didn't really have a whole lot. It was basically like okay, we're working on a Gears 4, we're working on Gears 5, we got Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will-O-Wisp, Forza games, and that was it. And like a State of K game here and there, and Sea of Thieves, that was like all of Xbox One almost. It was, yeah, I'm exaggerating a little bit by understating it, but this seems like, okay, this is the Xbox that people want. This is all about the games. The games are filling in, to my imagination, the games are filling in those voids that people want. We are getting these massive RPGs from Obsidian, from Playground Studios. We are getting more shooters. We are getting Halo back to where it's good again, right? People had serious problems with the campaign in Halo 5. I was one of them. So they're going back to the roots in Halo. They're so many awesome things to get excited for. I got to give them a B plus. I really think that they this might be one of the best conferences they've had yet, and the craziest part is it wasn't even in person. So that's the ironic part. So those were our thoughts on the Xbox Games Showcase. You guys can list off everywhere that people can find you online. We will start off with JT.
Well, this is my first foray into anything in this field of YouTubing, podcasting, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, my Twitter right there, it looks weird. It's Latin. Veneficus Spati. There's 2 S's in the middle and 2 I's at the end. It means Wizard of Space.
Nice.
But my Twitter handle is the exact same as my PSN tag, and it's the exact same as my gamer tag on Xbox.
There you go. Very easy to find. Keep it all together there. Very unique. And it was really nice to have you, man. It was awesome. This is, I know you said it was the first time being involved in any of this, so I appreciate you coming on here and really throwing around some awesome knowledge about games and everything else. So, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. And Jeffrey, you are no stranger to the internet. You're involved with a couple things here, so list them off, man. What are you involved with?
Yeah, I host Hype Function and Maniacal Melodies, 2 different podcasts on channel 1138. Yeah, check out channel 1138.com/hypefunction and check out the most recent episode featuring me, Ben Hart from the Star Wars Underworld, and you, Chris Abbott, Starrapter.
Woo!
That was a fun episode, and I host a weekly music discussion podcast, Maniacal Melodies, channel 1138.com/Maniacal Melodies, and then follow me on Twitter at Hype Function, and check that out, and like Maniacal Melodies on Facebook if you can.
There you go. You heard it here first. So thanks, you guys, for coming on. It was a lot of fun today. I'm hugely a fan of Xbox. I've been an Xbox fan since the original Xbox, and I have nothing against Sony. I have nothing against PlayStation. I have a PlayStation 1, but I just only have time for really one system in my PC, and I've always just rather enjoyed the controller and the user interface and of Xbox and everything else. But with that being said, I want to hear your guys' reactions. You can sound off in the comment section below. How do you think the Xbox Games Showcase was? Was it everything you hoped it would be? Did it leave you wanting a little bit more? Keep in mind, we are getting another kind of live stream. I think that Xbox said is they're having one every month. So we still don't have the price. We still don't have the release date of the console, and they did make it very clear that this wouldn't be about any of that, so they definitely set expectations, which was appreciated. But I look forward to seeing what Xbox is going to do in the future. So that is going to do it for me, Starrapter, and for Jeffrey, and for JT. If you guys like this video, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, as I'll be talking a lot more about games in the future and other things like Star Wars. That is going to do it for me. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.